Wilder Show podcast. Hello there. I'm Scott, and that's Lauren.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing over there?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm all right.
Good. I'm well. I'm well.
Well, I'm good. Yeah, well, I'm well in that I feel well.
I try to be
but
good.
I'm also good. I'm my state of being is good.
Okay.
You know, like think different or think differently. They both actually work.
Okay.
Think different. Think differently is the adverb for think, right?
Right.
But also we want
yeah.
you to think different.
Uh-huh.
Not just the process of thinking, but in the end result to be different. We'll edit all this out.
I'm way lost.
Can't believe we haven't even got to the Instagram promo yet. We're on Instagram. Wilder Show Pod is what you'll search, and you'll find us. If you search, you will find us. If you want to send us an email, just email podcast@wildershow.com. Podcast@wildershow.com. The Wilder Show podcast drops on Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. So like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And thank you for sharing with friends. Let me say something, though. We had some weird problem with the YouTube version.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow it became was marked as private. Obviously, nothing I do is private, right? It's all out there for everyone to see. It was, but I don't know what happened, but somehow it became private, and that's fixed. It was for episodes, I think 39 and 41. Yeah, 39 and 41. So thanks for the heads up. We got a couple of different folks who said, hey, you probably know this by now, but so don't ever, look, you should know by now, don't ever think that I already know anything.
Point out our mistakes, please.
It really doesn't, we're grateful. Just tell us, because I didn't know. I mean, we do our best to check everything. In fact, I did check it. And then all of a sudden somebody said it and I went there and in 1 second it was there and the next second it disappeared. Even I couldn't see it. So I had to go then sign in and do all kinds of things. So I don't know how that happened, but just to let you know, thank you for helping in taking care of that. We really, really do appreciate that. This is really difficult to talk about. This happened just, I guess, 2 nights ago.
It was Wednesday night.
Yeah, Wednesday night, 9 o'clock. 2 Israeli embassy staff members, Yaron Lichinsky, I hope I'm saying this right, Lichinsky, and Sarah Lynn Milgram were shot and killed outside Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. It was during an event hosted by the American Jewish Committee. You want to say a little bit more about what we know about who they are and what they did?
Well, we know some personal things about them that I think make it even more tragic than if we didn't know these things. Lichinsky was a research assistant in the Israeli embassy's political department. Milgram organized U.S. missions to Israel. They were a couple, and they were planning to get engaged next week in Jerusalem. We heard that Lichinsky had just purchased a ring last week that he was going to give to her next week, and they were at this event, and they were, what I read later also, they were in a group of 4 people coming out, and the 2 of them were shot dead right there in the street.
This was clear anti-Semitism. There's no question about this. The person who did the suspect, the guy who did it, he admitted to the crime, according to reports. 30-year-old guy named Rodriguez out of Chicago. He had been pacing out in front of the museum. Prior to the murders, he shouted, "Free, free Palestine," after being detained and reportedly admitting to the crime. Now, there is some irony to this. You got this guy who's trying to stand, he says he's all about Palestine and Hamas and all this kind of stuff and for the people of Gaza, and he's doing this, he's so altruistic, and the evil, the little Satan, which is what they call Israel, and we're going to destroy little Satan. And then, by the way, don't be mistaken, they're going to come for big Satan after that. They view America as big Satan. Right. So if they come for those who worship on Saturday, after that they're going to come for those who worship on Sunday. So stop thinking this doesn't apply to us. It applies to us. We're just not there yet. But it's ironic, these 2 that were murdered by a guy who wants to stand for Gaza.
So Sarah Milgram worked on peace building between Palestinians and Israelis.
Amazing.
And it was her grieving father who pointed out the irony in that. Lichinsky and Milgram had both worked on projects hoping to bring about peace between Israelis and Palestinians. And the event that they were attending Wednesday night included a discussion about facilitating aid into Gaza.
Look, this is the Mark Levins of the world, and many other people will say, enough already. You have to destroy evil. You cannot negotiate with people like this. Nothing less than a total annihilation of Hamas. That is the only thing that is going to work. And there are lots of people who say, well, we could do this, And I'm not saying peacenik and all that kind of stuff. Maybe if it works out peacefully, that's great. But if it doesn't, and it appears increasingly that it not only does it not, but it cannot, we still have to solve this problem. And so, it's just so tragic to see 28 and 26 years old. That is so young. 28 and 26, trying to do a good thing. They probably felt called to do what they were doing out at an event, probably excited to spend time together with friends.
Right.
He knew. We don't even know if she knew.
I know.
That she was about to get engaged. The plan was to do that next week.
In Jerusalem.
Think about that. So it's just, the Benjamin Netanyahu had something to say about it. President Trump had something to say about it. Netanyahu released this official statement, said, "We are witnessing the terrible price of anti-Semitism and the wild incitement against the state of Israel. The blood libels against Israel are paid in blood, and we must fight them relentlessly. My heart aches for the families of the beloved young man and woman whose lives were suddenly cut short by a vile anti-Semitic murderer." President Trump condemned the attack on social media. He wrote, "These horrible DC killings, based obviously on anti-Semitism, must end now." So today, we think about that. We remember these young people. I just can't even imagine what their families are going through. And I think we have to stand against anti-Semitism wherever it takes place. So much of the time, Lauren, this is the kind of thing that you think, well, that happens over there, or it happened a long time ago. This couple that lost their life, this couple that was murdered, that wasn't 1938.
No.
It wasn't 1942. It wasn't in Dachau or Auschwitz. It was in the nation's capital of the United States of America.
Right out on the street.
Right out on the street. So now is the time to stand against it in any way that you can. Any way that you can stand against anti-Semitism. I think now is the time to do that. So I wanted to, it's just heartbreaking to see stories like this.
This was a report of something that appeared in the Chicago Sun-Times just day before. Actually, I think it was early this week. Appeared in the Chicago Sun-Times, and at least probably some other newspapers too. We know for sure that one edition of the Philadelphia Inquirer published a syndicated summer book list. It was a summer reading list that included made-up books by famous authors.
Oh, my.
It was the summer reading list for 2025.
Just made up.
So there were 15 titles on the list. Only 5 of them were real.
No way.
So there were authors on there like Ray Bradbury, Jess Walter, Francois Sagan. Those are real. Those are real authors.
Real authors, sure.
But they were the books that were attributed to them. They were generated by AI.
No way.
With blurbs with them, little synopses of each book. Also, just made up. So there was no byline on this, okay? But apparently the writer of this, or the creator, you can't really call him a writer, the creator of the list, Marco Buscaglia, claimed responsibility for it, says it was partly generated by AI. Now, he said that this was a huge mistake on my part. Has nothing to do with the Sun-Times. They trust that the content they purchase is accurate, and I betrayed that trust. It's on me 100%. So you know how this happens. Earlier this year, actually just 2 months after the Chicago Sun-Times announced that 20% of its staff had accepted buyouts as the paper's nonprofit owner, the Chicago Public Media, was dealing with fiscal hardship. So they were accepting more or purchasing more syndicated things to fill up the paper.
Okay,
fewer staffers able to write these things, like to actually write a summer reading list that would be in the Chicago Sun-Times. They're buying them from syndication services.
It's like a perfect storm, right? They've laid off staff.
Yeah.
They still have to fill the newspaper. They get a service to provide this stuff, but the service is getting from AI.
Right.
And so the guy who's in charge of not writing it, but collecting it or curating it, whatever the word is, he lets them. Unbelievable.
And I guess that 20% of staff that took the buyout, that might have included editors, proofreaders,
absolutely,
fact checkers,
absolutely,
anyone who might have been able to look at it and say, "This is not,
this isn't real.
Not right.
This isn't real."
Yeah.
In a world where AI is used by professors and teachers to determine what is plagiarized, how AI then couldn't tell what is not even a real story by or a book by that author.
It probably could, but nobody asked, I think. It just sort of flew under the radar.
Okay.
They got the list. Victor Lim, who's the marketing director for the Chicago Sun-Times parent company, Chicago Public Media, said that the list was part of licensed content provided by King Features, which I guess they're purchasing that content to to fill the pages.
Licensed content doesn't mean it's true.
No, apparently not.
I mean, it's reliable. And so that's just crazy. The Trump administration has revoked Harvard University's ability to enroll international students. This is part of the escalating battle with Harvard, saying that thousands of current students must transfer to other schools or leave the country.
Man.
Think about that. So you have somebody who is an international student, who is at Harvard, and this sort of comes down, and all of a sudden you got thousands of them who have to either transfer to other schools or leave the country. Department of Homeland Security said the university allowed, quote, anti-American pro-terrorist agitators to assault Jewish students on campus, speaking of anti-Semitic behavior, and claimed New York Times, or rather AP says, without evidence that Harvard is coordinating with the Chinese Communist Party. This can get very sticky very quickly. So I don't know exactly where this is all going to end up, but it does appear, as you might imagine, the Trump administration is not going to give up, their position. In a separate court case, a district judge in Oakland blocked the Trump administration from terminating the legal status of international students nationwide, while a court case challenging previous terminations is pending. Gosh, how do we end up getting any president involved in so many court cases? The order bars the government from arresting, incarcerating, or moving students elsewhere based on their legal status until the case is resolved. Gosh, this is all just kicking cans down the road. So basically, it's Trump's Harvard visa threat. And think about this. Guess what else it could impact?
What?
Harvard's sports teams. You have people that, for example, play soccer. Who are international students who play for Harvard, and all of a sudden they become ineligible for international student visas. I mean, by writ. So all of a sudden, what about the nation's largest athletic program? I mean, in fact, some of Harvard's sports teams would be virtually wiped out. 7 of the 8 rowers, right, on the crew team, 7 of the 8. The crew team that just won the Eastern Sprints title and is headed to the national championships, they list international hometowns on the school's website. Mick Thompson, the leading soccer scorer last season, and Jack Barr, who was a captain, are Canadians. They're on the men's hockey roster. 10 of the 13 members of the squash team and more than half of the women's soccer and golf are also listing foreign hometowns. So 21% of the players on the rosters of Harvard's 42 varsity teams, or 196 out of the 919 athletes.
That's a lot.
Have international hometowns. And this all is put at risk because the Trump administration says, hey, we're taking on Harvard. This goes back to the whole diversity, equity, inclusion, which could include even the kind of classes that are provided, the kind of instructors that are hired. I think a lot of people think, oh, look, I mean, what about academic freedom? What about, well, you know what, though? Honestly, there's not academic freedom. I mean, you don't have freedom on college campuses. Look, follow Charlie Kirk around to college campuses. Now, some campuses are very inviting, but the great majority of them are quite hostile to people that hold conservative positions. They love to talk about, liberals love to talk about how open they are, and it's free speech. It's always free speech if it's offensive to conservatives. That's free speech. But a conservative sharing something that is offensive to them, that is hate speech. It's something we've seen 100 times, 1,000 times. So I don't know how this is going to end with Harvard and the Trump administration, but that's where we currently are. All right, it's time for Scattershoot.
Let's go.
A Wilder Show Scattershoot. We have lots of stuff to get to.
You know what a revenge meal is?
A revenge meal?
A revenge meal. I've eaten my share of revenge meals. I've had a lot of revenge snacks. I didn't even know that they were such a thing, though, back in the day. Okay, so there's this thing, revenge bedtime procrastination. This is something that's a big deal among younger parents, the parents whose kids are young now. So revenge bedtime procrastination is when you spend your late night hours scrolling on TikTok or binging shows, all the things that you couldn't do when the kids were awake because you were being a good parent. You were spending time with your kids, spending quality time with your kids. So that has led to a quieter trend, revenge meals. So revenge meals might involve candy stashed under napkins in car armrests, or the Veni-sized Frappuccino that you get between the drop-off at school and the office, or maybe the double cheeseburgers that you eat in secret. The whole thing behind these meals apparently offer a sense of control. They're one of the few moments in a day that aren't dictated by your children's routines, needs, or preferences. So if you're working really hard to feed your kids nutritious food and also set a good example in the kind of food you eat, you're not going to eat that stuff in front of them. But when they're not around, you're going to put those M&Ms in your mouth.
That's why it's called a revenge?
It is.
Okay,
It is because if you feel like you're providing your kids the right meals, then you might kind of feel entitled to eat something free from judgment.
Gotcha.
Okay? So this is my favorite quote from the whole thing. And this actually, at first I thought, it's not just little kids that we're talking about. This came from a father of teens. And he said, I have a bag of chips that I keep in the trunk of my car. If I took those chips into the house, they would be gone in a day. I'll give my kids the last piece of chicken, but that bag of chips in the trunk, absolutely not. I have been there. I've hidden food that I just, I mean, if you let it out in the open, it's going to be inhaled, especially when you have teenagers. And sometimes you just need your own bag of chips.
You know, growing up, my mom and I liked some of the same things. Like my dad, he couldn't really eat onions, so he didn't like onions. There were several other things like that. And my mom and I tended to like similar things. And so it was sort of cool because when we had that, nobody else wanted it. So we weren't at risk of somebody else taking the thing that we liked the most. It was just there for us.
You didn't even have to hide it.
No, I didn't have to hide it at all. Yeah, it's funny. That's funny. Memorial Day weekend, and Memorial Day, of course, is Monday. And just speaking of family, we did a thing for years and years and years at Flagpole Hill in Dallas. The Dallas Symphony Orchestra does a thing about 8:15 the night of Memorial Day. And sort of the downside is we're all going to work the second day. So it's sort of a bummer to be out, for me anyway, to be out late on Monday night and have to go to work the next day. So it wouldn't have bothered me ever if they had made that a Sunday night into Monday to get ready for Memorial Day. But it's something that goes on at White Rock Lake at Flagpole Hill there at Northwest Highway and Buckner right there. And it is the Dallas Symphony has a little portable band shell they bring out. And the Dallas Symphony is there, and they do patriotic music and the whole thing, and the marches and all the stuff. And they do that whole thing where, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, that whole thing of the whole thing that we all celebrate. And you stand up if you're in the crowd, and there are people. It's out of doors, so you're there on a picnic blanket and bring their chairs, and people bring beverages or whatever they want out there. As I recall, I think things could be different today, but it's a great family event. It's very patriotic. It's family. It's food. So if you're looking for something to do on Memorial Day in the evening, consider going to White Rock Lake to Flagpole Hill. There is a big slope there. There are a couple of picnic tables, but for the most part, people just take their blankets and lay out there. Now, I think the pre-music stuff starts at like 6:15 or something like that.
That's right.
But the main thing is like 8 o'clock. Now, you don't want to wait until 6:15. Let me just tell you, you don't want to wait that late.
If you want to get a better spot, you need to get there earlier.
Also, there's a parking issue.
Oh, of course.
So, you got to get into that area and park. So if you get in there early, which we always did, our family a little bit, little OCD on getting your place. But we'd always end up being in the same place. And so we would get there quite early and bring food and go by Sonic or wherever and Chick-fil-A and bring some food and everybody, share stuff. And be there, spend time together. And then after the concert, it starts about 8:15. It goes about 8:15 to about maybe 9 o'clock. There is an awesome fireworks display.
Now,
awesome fireworks display.
We should mention there's a little chance of rain in the forecast
on
Monday right now, and that could impact the fireworks, but hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Could. I mean, we've had the weather impact the fireworks before where it was particularly dry and you couldn't fire the fireworks off. But it is honestly, and I've, as you might imagine, with the radio stuff we've done in the past, I've seen a billion fireworks displays. Yeah, and it's like, okay, another fireworks display. But this is a really good fireworks display. So if you only wanted to go to one, and that's kind of me, I don't want to go to 5 different fireworks displays in the season. So I'll go. This is a good one, and it's a great, very relaxing. It's very relaxing. It's dog friendly. It's lots of people there with their dogs, and we run into the same people every single year. That's nice. So this is something you might consider doing on Memorial Day night. And you can find out all the details, just go online to the Dallas Symphony Orchestra event or whatever. And it's there at Flagpole Hill. So search Flagpole Hill Memorial Day. Make sure you get the right year, 2025, and get details, and we'll see you there. Oh, and one other thing. Another thing that's been part of the Wilder family for a long time is a thing called Carry the Load.
Oh, yeah.
You're familiar with this. And Carry the Load is a nonprofit that really exists for this purpose, to preserve the sanctity of Memorial Day. So they have community events, they have storytelling, they seek to unite Americans in appreciation for the sacrifices that have been made by those who carried the load for all. And so this began with Carry the Load, and the founding members are Clinton Bruce, Navy SEALs, Clinton Bruce, and Stephen Holly. It's now grown into a nationwide movement. with people honoring and remembering our nation's heroes throughout the year. So if you want to find out more, you might be interested to know that since 2011, it has raised $45.9 million.
Man.
300,000 plus participants in all 50 states, also in 29 countries, has funded 236 education programs. So good on Clint Bruce and Stephen Hawley. I'll say one thing about Clint Bruce real quick. When Chris was trying to figure out what he wanted to do for service, and I can't say a whole lot about this, we called Clint Bruce, and Clint Bruce met with Chris.
Wow.
And actually, I took Chris, met Clint, and shook his hand, and I said, I'm just going to leave you guys. I was at a Starbucks, and Chris was quite young.
He was young, right?
Didn't know what he wanted to do for service. And Clint Bruce was very nice to Chris. And I told Chris, I said, I'll come back in an hour and a half. And so I thanked Clint and I walked off and went and did something
very
else.
Cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. So I have a great affinity for Stephen and Clint Bruce and all that goes on there. Chris did this as a young man, did this for Carry the Load. And so if you want to be a part of this, let me tell you what it is. You walk. You meet at Rivershawn Park at noon on Sunday. There are opening ceremonies at 3:30, but the gates open at noon on Sunday. Again, this is going to be maybe a parking situation there at Rivershawn. There's a step-off that begins the 20-hour march beginning at 4:30. Now, at 8 o'clock, so there's a step-off, and they begin to walk. And they're walking. They're going to walk for 20 hours.
So people walk with them
Yeah,
for a
you can.
while, right?
You
Who
can.
maybe don't intend to walk the whole time, but they'll get started with
That's
them.
right. So you have a step off together that begins a 20-hour march, and that's at 4:30. And then at 8 o'clock, there's live music in the park. And then a cool thing that I think Jamie has done, I think Caroline might have done it too, is the walk overnight on the Katy Trail. So this is very safe. It's very protected. They have the silent midnight walk where everybody's quiet for the midnight walk. Anyway, it's a wonderful opportunity to remember those who have sacrificed the most. And it's been a part of the Wilder family for years and years to come. It all wraps up on Monday. Closing ceremonies begin about 11:30 in the morning. Gates open to the public at 8 o'clock in the morning. You can meet at the Katy Trail Ice House to participate in the storyboard procession. That's at 11:15. Anyway, the event ends at 1 o'clock on Memorial Day on Monday, but it is a wonderful thing, and it is a great way to remember those who have sacrificed for our country, and to keep the real meaning of Memorial Day part of Memorial Day. So. It's just, again, those are just a couple of Wilder family activities that, if you have an interest, I would encourage you just to go check it out. They have food trucks and all kinds of things, entertainment, storyboard sessions, and a procession. They have merchandise, of course, kids' activities, all that stuff you'd want. You can also camp legally. You can pitch a tent there.
Wow.
To bond with your friends and family, meet the kindred spirits of the community, all while enjoying 2 full days of festivities. It's good. It's a really good, rich thing to do, and I just wanted to make sure you knew about it. You can certainly go to carrytheload.org to find out more.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Or if you think you might want to give. If you can't participate on Memorial Day on this weekend, you can certainly give to the cause. You'll find that at carrytheload.org.
Yeah, very good.
Oh, master of the Rubik's Cube.
Yes.
Did you see the thing at Purdue? The thing they're calling the Perduebix Cube?
Can I say
think
a
you're
word,
gonna
though,
like
about
it. Yeah.
Can I say a word about the Rubik's Cube real quick?
I think you are probably, I don't know if you were the first person I ever met who could really do it. You certainly took it more seriously than anyone that I had ever known before. I think I had never thought that there was really any method to it. I just kind of, played around with it and never really solved it. But then when I met you, I mean, you had it down to a science.
Well, what happened was I exchanged, I think, one semester of my sophomore year in college. Seriously, for that. I remember I'll tell you a quick Rubik's Cube story real quick. I had written a little thing about how to solve the Rubik's Cube. And because we had our whole floor was all trying to do it. So sometimes we would share different moves that we thought would do certain things, and ultimately, figured it out. And so I wrote a little thing about how to do it. And I knew a guy who was in law school, and he was kind of a big Ike guy, kind of big shot, kind of loud at parties, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But he's a friend. I mean, I knew him. He was actually a friend of a friend. And he wanted me to show him how to do it. So I gave him my little outline for the Rubik's Cube.
Did you charge for that? Was that just out of the goodness of your heart, or was that?
Sure.
I mean, college students.
No problem. Yeah, no problem.
For a way to make a buck.
No problem. That's a good point, though. But I showed him how to do it, gave him the thing, and said, "Here's the way you do it." And it told you how to hold it and when to do this move and this series of moves, that kind of stuff. Anyway, it was a little pamphlet that I made. Way too much time on my hands, apparently.
Well,
all the classes I missed, I guess, was all those times that I had. And so this guy is in law school, and he's at a law party. And I think he called me one Friday night, very sad. I was available. I think I was in my dorm. And he calls, and I said, yes. And I think the group had been, they seemed all to be a little bit relaxed, if you know what I'm saying. Okay. And he said, look, I'm at this party, this law school party, and I told these guys I could do the Rubik's Cube. And this whole group is making fun of me because I know I did the last move correctly, but it's not solving it. And so he said to me, you did not teach me right how to solve the Rubik's Cube. I said, okay, hold on a second. I said, hold it like this. And he did. I said, now make this move. And he did. And I said, now turn it this way. And he did. I said, now look at the bottom of it. And he did. He told me all these things. And I said, all right, now. I said, I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm going to tell you. Now, remember, I don't have it in front of me. This is just because I know in my head. And so I said to him, here's what I want you to do. I said, I want you to take the cube, and I want you to slam it down on the table and point to everyone in the room and say, somebody messed with the cube. This is a guy with his friends in law school.
Right.
And he says, hey, man, I mean, are you sure? I said, I'm totally sure. He said, are you really sure? I said, I'm totally, really sure. He said, all right. So he sets the phone down.
With all the confidence of a college sophomore home on a Friday night.
Exactly. So, look, I've given my life for this cause. So he sets the phone down, and I hear him say, like way off the phone, bang, somebody messed with the cube. The whole place dies laughing. They are all dying laughing because it's true. Somebody had peeled something off and changed it out. And if you did that, there'd be no way.
You
messed it all up. Anyway, so I have a complicated history with the cube. It also is one of the reasons how I know my memory is okay for the day. I have two tests. One is, can I still do the Rubik's Cube?
Yeah.
The answer is yes. And the other is, can I name all 7 original members of Chicago, the first band I ever saw in concert? So if those two things are still intact, I would just say, perhaps even out loud, with no one around, not today, Satan.
Very good.
That today's not today. Anyway, that's my background on the Rubik's Cube.
The way I know my memory is intact is that I still know that those are the two ways that you know your memory is intact.
Okay. I got you.
Just ask me. Just ask me.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Rubik's Cube. This is actually, they're calling it the Perduebix Cube because apparently back in May, a year ago, May of 2024, Mitsubishi had figured out a way to solve a Rubik's Cube in just 0.305 seconds.
No way.
Now, this is all mechanical. This is not people doing it.
Gotcha.
They'd programmed a robot or something like that, and they were quite impressed with themselves. And that is an impressive accomplishment from a company that has, vast resources at its disposal. But this group of young men from Purdue University, Matthew Patrahay, Junpei Oda, Aiden Hurd, and Alex Berta, decided they wanted to see if they could improve upon that without all of those vast resources at their disposal. So they spent, like you said, a single semester learning how to do it. They spent a whole semester trying to figure this out, and their results are not only faster than blinking an eye, but if you consider that human reaction time is 100 to 200 milliseconds, they're even faster than that. So basically, this is a quote from Patrohe. Before you even realize it's solved, we've solved it.
Oh, that's crazy.
Before you even realize it's moving, we've solved it.
No way. That's crazy.
So it's a robot that does it, and if you look, it's fascinating. Look this up, or I'll tell you what, if you send an email to podcast@wildershow.com, I will send you this article, and it's got a little video. They had to create a special Rubik's Cube for this. It had to be like have a custom built interior with a core that is kind of cushioned so it can hold all of the pieces together. Because they said if you tried to do this with a regular Rubik's Cube, the cubes they just kind of disintegrate. The pieces just snap in half and fall apart. And I promise, if you watch the video, you wouldn't even believe it. It's so fast. Yeah, it is. It's like
it is
before
in the blink
you
of an
even.
eye.
Yeah. So incredible. I knew you'd love that. And
That's
I don't want you to think we're not trying to usurp the
not at all.
great ability.
No.
This is not like a human doing it. But just the minds of these guys that figured out how to do this and make this happen are it's just incredible to me.
It really sort of speaks to what it really is. It's a math problem.
Yeah.
It's all math. And one of the things, not to overstate the importance of, but really trying to glean something valuable out of the exchange with the universe for my one semester of my sophomore year, something valuable. There are so many things that I think about. I don't think this is obsessive, but think about it. It's like the Rubik's Cube. When you're trying to solve the Rubik's Cube or really any puzzle like this, you make them, you see where it is, and you make a move to see if you can fix it. But if you can't fix it, it is important to get it back to the way it was before.
Right.
Because otherwise you don't know what move would fix that thing.
Yeah.
So you see a problem and then you attempt a solution. But if that doesn't work, you don't go A, B, C, D, E. You go A, B, whoops, go back to A.
Right.
Okay, A, C, whoops, go back to A. You have to find a way to put it back to then solve it from there. Anyway, and there's so many things really in life. You know, we do a lot of work with recording stuff and different technical things. And if we can't, you can't go down a road if you can't go back to the original and then search for the solution from there. So it's the very same thing really with the Rubik's Cube. Anyway, I do sound like a college sophomore now obsessed with the Rubik's Cube.
Not at all. But, in all of that, I don't even think I said how fast It's like
0.1 seconds.
It's 0.103 seconds.
It is literally the blink of an eye.
They shattered the Guinness World Record for fastest puzzle cube solving robot. It's incredible. It's incredible. Hey, we've talked about this a lot lately, but how much sleep would you say you get on any given night? What's your average?
I don't know my average is. I need to check my watch. It's not high. I've gotten busy doing stuff early in the morning these days. And I would say, honestly, I'm kind of embarrassed to say, it probably is, it's less than 5 hours.
No, that's not enough.
Oh, I know it's not.
I
know it's not. I'm just telling you, I already know that. But it probably, there are reasons. I'm not going to go into details about it. But I would say probably you can't really catch up. Not really. It takes a long time. I get more sleep on like Friday night and Saturday night than I do the other nights of the week. But I would say if I got 6 hours sleep on any of those nights, that would be for me a good night's sleep.
Yeah. Well, we know that not getting enough sleep is detrimental to both our health and our productivity. I think sometimes, though, we kind of maybe underestimate what we need or how we are performing on that smaller amount of sleep. There's a new sleep deprivation study that was published in the journal Sleep. And they took 48 adults. They restricted their sleep to a maximum of 4, 6, or 8 hours a night for 2 weeks. I would say I've been in that 6 hour a night thing. And I might get a little bit more on the weekends, but generally it's about 6 hours a night. And then one unlucky subset in this study was deprived of sleep for 3 days straight. Okay, so during the time in the lab, the participants were tested every 2 hours unless they were asleep, then they weren't tested on their cognitive performance as well as their reaction time. They answered questions about their mood and any symptoms that they might have been experiencing, basically kind of, how sleepy do you feel? So obviously, the ones who were allowed to sleep for 8 hours a night, they're the ones who had the highest performance on average. Those who got only 4 hours a night did worse every day. The group who got 6 hours of sleep a night seemed to kind of be holding their own until about day 10 of the study. But the thing that was kind of the wildest about this, the people who got 6 hours of sleep a night, they thought they were doing well, even as their ability, their cognitive ability and their performance began to decline after several weeks of 6 hours a night.
So it's going down.
It's going down.
But they're saying, no, I'm still good.
They don't know it. Wow. They don't even recognize it until by the end, near the end, like at 10 days or so of this 2-week period, they're performing at the same rate that the people who were in the group that went for 3 days without any sleep.
You're kidding.
So sometimes I can feel it. I can feel when the lack of sleep is affecting but I bet I don't feel it as much as is really
That's what the
case.
Study says. The study says you don't.
Yeah.
Or that I don't, and no one does.
I don't know.
That's crazy.
I don't know what to do about it.
Obviously you got to get more sleep.
I know,
you gotta
it's hard to do. It's hard to go to bed early enough.
It's hard, yeah. I mean, especially if you do things early in the day.
Yeah.
And I've said a long time ago, I'm really kind of cursed because I love being up early in the day. I love being up before the sun. I know a lot of people don't. I love it.
Yeah.
I love to be up and out.
Yeah.
I love to drive wherever I'm going before
early in the morning.
I love it.
You also like to stay up late though,
that
too,
is
don't you?
it. That is the curse. Yeah, I do. And I do stay up. It's just hard to go to sleep at like 9 o'clock for me. I just need to do better at that.
I think I could do it, especially on a day when I got up before dawn.
Yeah.
But there's just too much stuff to do.
I know. And the thing is, when you have the evening, it's like, okay, now I really want to sit and I want to sort of decompress. I was going to say decompose, but that's not right.
I think that's where we're headed on, too many years spent at 6 hours of sleep a night.
So I would decompress, just a minute to do nothing. I have before maybe had a really, really full day and I'm driving back home and maybe it's really late. Maybe it's been a 14, 15, 16-hour day, maybe more, and it's really late. And while it's possible for me to just like lie down on the floor right here and fall asleep within 2 minutes, I can do that any time of the day. There is something about, okay, I'm now going to sit and do nothing for some period of time, like give a little bit of a reward to myself before I have to, really hunker down. Yeah. I don't want to just go from being at a 10 to be forced to be at a 0 within, moments. It's just, what kind of life is that? So I like to have a moment, watch a little something, 30 minutes on TV or something, or listen to something or read something just for a little bit.
That feels kind of like you have a life.
It's like you're a human, not just a machine going from one
job to another.
One job to the next.
One task to another.
Exactly. Just exhausted.
Like anyway, the guy who used to be on it was the Dunkin' commercials, right? Get up in the morning, I got to make the donuts. Yeah, got to do the podcast. That's right. Got to record the podcast.
Yeah, podcast. We got the podcast. We got the music thing. We got our real job. So we got lots of stuff going on.
The podcast doesn't record itself.
That's right. Squeezing a little time with the people who share our last names. Have to spend some time with them too. So anyway, that's something. So we should all get more sleep. Yeah. Especially probably as we get older. It's probably important. I don't really mind not staying up late. I used to watch all the I used to have some of the late night talk shows that I found particularly interesting. I haven't found very many of those anymore. They've changed a lot over the years since the days when I found them interesting. I think they were a little more corporate. It's a Paramount. CBS is going to have all the Paramount movies on promote. It's not like it used to be. Everybody has their own little. It's basically a promo channel for different things. NBC has NBC Universal.
Yeah.
And then you have CBS is Paramount. You have ABC that's Disney and Hulu and ESPN. It's just like enough already.
And now with all the late night shows, even if you are a fan, you can pretty much see all the highlights the next day. You could watch the whole thing the next day if you had time. But if you don't, you can see the highlights of all of them.
Yeah, true. So get to bed, everybody. What's going on? Okay, that is Wilder Show Scattershoot, the Wilder Show podcast. Instagram, you'll find us. If you search Instagram, you'll search Wilder Show Pod. And you'll find us, you'll follow us, you'll share it with your friends. If you want to send us email, just email to podcast@wildershow.com. Podcast@wildershow.com. The Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube. I watched that this week. Make sure we get that right, not private. It'll get public this week.
And it is entirely possible that I owe a few people an email. So be patient with me. I will get those to you, I promise.
We'll do it. So follow us, subscribe, rate, like, share. Please share the podcast with your friends and say, hey, listen to this idiot. Not her, me. So there you go. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time. Da 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 da
da da da da da da da da da da da